Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. I want to thank y'all for coming through on this nice Tuesday morning. So, seem to be having some things going on within this space, but I'm letting you know these are the things that have been going on in Black America since even my grandfather was alive. The problem is that you have here is that there's really no questioning the election process. It's either you believe that your guy won or not. And it's just really not really that hard, right? What's going on, Marco Grande? Like I said, in this election, there was going to be winners and there was going to be losers. This is how both elections work. But the mark of an election is not who voted and who didn't. Is looking at the results and trying to organize the day after the election's over for the next fight that's upcoming. So within this space, you had a bunch of people who want to make money off of the process. And because they think, because they failed out of life as being a normal man, that they can come to the internet and spread the new drug of choice, misinformation. Now, it doesn't matter if you are an attorney. It does not matter if you are a jailhouse scholar. It does not matter if you're a fake street dude. It does not matter if you claim to be for Black men at this point. The fact that none of these entities are actually coming to even try to organize people around what's next shows you that these people were never serious about progress in the first place. I don't remember all of this voter fraud stuff happening within the Black space of YouTube 4 years ago. I just don't remember it. Because Black men suffer from something that is very key and very clear. You have a lot of undeclared MAGAs within this space. I'm not talking about the people who supported the guy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who wanted to benefit off of the process without any type of input into the process. As much as these people talk about the alphabet community, they only make up less than 1% of the population. So how does 1%, less than 1% of the population, get their way within the election format that we have here? Well, I'm not sure whether you know this, but ever since the Citizens United Supreme Court justice decision, it gave everybody the ability to buy politicians, not just corporations. So, if less than half of the voting populace shows up to vote, and the united group of 1% do show up to vote, and they're willing to finance their campaigns and finance their issues and finance court cases and finance the things they need to finance in order to move forward, how are they not going to win? The same could go for black men. We're very numerous where we are, but we want to hold on to the image of this dumbass gangster dumb shit and want to move forward with that. And the only reason why people want to hold on to this dumbass image of this so-called gangster is because they won't have any viability toward the counterpart within the environment unless they make themselves look dumber than the counterpart within the environment. That's the only reason to keep up this gangster or street persona at this point. And you can't blame most of the men within the environment. They were born in households without men in them. And since most people are born in households without men in them, the only person who they can vie for respect for within the environment is their mother. What is the quickest way to vie for the respect of women within the environment? That's right. Playing up on this dumbass street nigga image. Playing up the fact that it's so easy to get women within this environment. Yes. If you don't have any core values or morals, yes. These women are easy to get within this environment. Most of them, if not all of them. What's going on, Art? What's going on, Melody? So, what I'm saying is that principle has never been that hard. People didn't even practice principle back in the day. My grandfather told me about how fighting for the civil rights movement, that there was nearly no people who wanted to go out there and risk anything. No people who wanted to go out there and organize anything. Nearly no people. But once it was over and we had to vote and it was time to celebrate, there was a hell of a lot more people that was mad than that was happy. You want to know why that is? Because now the ball was in their court to actually do something for themselves. And most people in those communities down there, even today, they don't want to take any chances on anything. They want to preserve what they got, which is nothing. Rather than do what my grandfather told me to do. Get the hell out of that area. This area is going nowhere. Because even back then, they thought silence and ducking within those houses while the Ku Klux Klan was moving throughout the community was a better way to go. They didn't want to take any action. The Not Fucking Around Coalition shows you exactly what happens when you stand up to people with your own guns. They don't show up. They only show up when there's no one fighting. If you ever seen one of these people do stuff, they swarm. It's not a one-on-one thing. So you have to understand it's the same within this space. Right now, it's still a time. We still have an election in 2022. And right now, everybody still want to deny the results of the election. Skipping over the fact he's proven why he's not president. The COVID-19 numbers are rising in a whole bunch of states. But this guy wanted to politicize wearing a mask to protect the general public from the spread of the disease. Now, if you look around, Because I was driving through Montana, North and South Dakota, Wyoming as well. They didn't have the numbers that they had in the first beginning. But now that everything opened back up and you have multiple people from multiple states going through there, now the numbers are insane. And he's really not doing much to help. That's the type of silence that I'm talking about. But you have to realize that silence is also a method of speech. Inaction is a method of speech. And it always have been. The problem is that you're not rewarded with principle in society because it's supposed to be the elders that hands down the culture to the youth. But in this culture, it is the youth that have to be quiet for what the elders have handed down to them. And then it's the youth's responsibility to correct all the mistakes of the past. And then it's the youth's responsibility to be quiet about the things that happened in the past. And it also, respect has turned from lived experience. Now it's turned into abject silence just because the person's older. It doesn't even matter what they're talking about, by the way, because you have to let them off the hook because they're the old guy around. They have to peacefully be wrong. That is the actual method of respect within the Black context. I'm just telling you that just another form of cowardice. Silence don't end problems. Silence grows problems, especially the ones that you don't see in society and life. You have to realize that principle just is not that hard, man. And most people want this fake level of respect based on the simple fact that they want for you to bear the burden of being quiet while they damage and destroy the entire environment for their own personal gain. How the hell is being silent to that type of stuff some sort of principle? Why do we want to give the so-called code of the Catholic Church to the people who do nothing but destroy the environment? How's this stuff supposed to work for anybody? But it is working for some people in ways that only satisfy them. They don't want the kind of progress you think that they want. You're seeing it right now. My grandfather seen it during his era. My dad and mom seen it during their era. When it came time to put boots to the ground, to actually take the tally, to actually get back up there and actually organize, nobody showed up. It's the abject disrespect to process, to not understand it. There's no reason for this stuff to be happening this way. They wanted to rush in and bastardize every single thing that could possibly help us move forward. You want to know why? They wanted to be the voice of it. You want to know why they wanted to be the voice of it? So that way it wouldn't go anywhere. They were never for progress, but they want to overwatch any type of progress that's being made within the environment so that way they can be able to sabotage it up close. If not through the actual system of feeding uncultured women to extremely thirsty men who's been neglected within the environment. It's actually people who are far smarter not giving people the information on how the process actually works, so that way we can get this thing on the road and get up out of here. If there are other cultures who can simply move ahead of us by forming a family and making sure that their kids are somewhat productive once they leave the household, I don't know how we can come back from that. If people can basically move ahead of whites and blacks within the society by just doing that. What's going on, Mike B? And that somehow you are supposed to work with poisonous fruit within the environment in order to form your team from that, rather than move on to a different group of people and form it that way. It's rare that anybody within the United States or the world have pure DNA. At some point, those people had to decide that they were going to leave that environment and go for better things somewhere else. Because waiting for unprincipled people to pass the Rubicon of a negative bar graph through infinity to positivity is something that we've been waiting on within this space for a very long time. There are people who want to be leaders, not accomplished. So what you have to recognize is that these are problems that you're going to see repeat over and over again until you move. Until you move. No one else truly is going to be able to move as fast as you do. Because if you don't make any type of progress and you only stay for people to make progress, every time you look to the sides, you're going to see the same people. But if you clearly moved ahead, because this is an individual practice game, not a group benefit game, it's an individual practice game. If you merely use that to move forward, we'll be a hell of a lot more ahead than we are now. But this is where we are with this stuff, man. This is exactly where we are. Because we want the wrong type of people to lead the right type of thing. And then people want to throw this word respect around. Respect is based on a track record, whether good or bad. That's what respect is actually based upon. Respect is based upon the ability to practice some type of principle within the environment. You have to understand, man, that nothing is good that's born out of silence. Nothing that's good is born out of silence. You can be silent once the culture's fixed. You can be silent once you have a level of practice ability that's handed down to other people. That's when you can be silent. You can be silent when things are working properly. Omega, that's not the case. It's just that they want to keep their relevance among certain types of people and move forward. They want to run this marathon, but they want to run this marathon pulling a half-ton diesel truck. while they're doing the marathon. And that's not just the way that it works. And this is most of the reason why people don't even want to work with us. They see what gets most of the airplays within the space and within the environment. It's easy to leave alone uncultured women. It's easy. It's quite easy to leave behind dudes who perpetuating the street myth and trying to make it look like they get women because of it. That's easy. However, if you're in a space full of a bunch of broken men who can't explain to you the end of the road to which they are on, then how are you supposed to move forward with them? But by all means, you're supposed to keep your mouth closed while other people try to survive off of the environment. The way that it currently is, by the way. They're not trying to turn this thing into nothing else better or different. They want this stuff to stay the same, folks. And it's no different now than it was back in the day. This is what happens when you have people who are undeclared within the environment. But they want to hang around while you go to your goal, while they never tell you what their goal is. And then all of a sudden, you start to see exactly what they are there for eventually. You have to realize, why is there no progress? Because they wanted the progress of the group to raise while other people sit back and ride off of the actual waves of everybody else. They wanted to turn that 100% dude into a 5% guy so the 19 other people who didn't do anything can hide behind the one dude who's actually doing right. And since that guy is outnumbered and is not going to feel comfortable in this environment, thanks to the failures that he is surrounded by, that is what's actually going to speak for the environment. They've always said that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. But what they didn't factor into account, what happens when the needs of the few turn into the needs of the many because the needs of the few procreated unjustly into the needs of the many. Now the needs of the many that shouldn't be there is born out of the needs of the few that should have not been there. That's where we are. Because no one can sit down and explain to me from beginning to end what their actual end point is. What is your bottom line? Like Nagon said, for me, it's the track record. What is this going to lead to at some point? How hard is it to just move on your own and accomplish the things you need to accomplish right now? How hard is that? But since most people have practiced this level of silence toward nonsense their entire lives, they're going to do it even here. Like I said, you got attorneys, PhDs here slanging the actual drug of misinformation, so that way they can keep their position. It's just like when the civil rights movement was over. We let the people who shouldn't speak for us start speaking for us. The Jacksons and the Sharptons. Now everybody want to be the Jacksons, the Sharptons, and now the ABLs. Trying to make it look like because they're personally responsible as a person and that they want a family, that's exclusive to one side of the political divide. That's completely wrong. There are family of Trumans and Carters and Kennedys and Clintons and Obamas, but no, they're the only person who believe in this shit. They're all people who believe in family. This is just where we are, man. This stuff is a sheer lack of principle. A sheer lack of principle. Then they want to be put on once everybody else becomes successful within the environment. Now, most of these people have spent their lives destroying the environment. And like I said, they're waiting for a chance to be put on by somebody else. When we know what the track record is, when it comes to working with and respecting people that you've never been taught to respect at any other point in your life. I went through it in my business alone, by myself, and so does other Black owners of businesses. You bring them around, they be there 2 seconds, and they immediately want to run stuff. Because rather than trying to level up their inexperience somewhere else, they come to you and want to go straight to the top. That all comes from the simple fact of doing whatever they want and still be rewarded despite what's going on within the environment, and then they want to come ruin your stuff. And then when cornered, they want to play this brother bullshit. It's nonsense. Goshen it has. You mean to tell me that we couldn't organize to where we would be doing stuff for the military, but they didn't serve everybody within the environment? It definitely didn't serve the church. That's why I'm not there. But the chaos is at the end of its rope. The chaos can't really move on to the next phase of life because they're stuck. They stuck, and they want the youth to be just as stuck as they are. That's where we're at this specific point in time right now. You think the voter fraud and not believing the results of anything, you think that is very specific to this situation? No, it's specific to every single time that they don't get their way. Most of these people complaining about this stuff, they didn't even vote. They just wanted to benefit off the guy being there. That's specific cause and effect. It's not hard. Cause and effect is not that hard. What's going on, Soul Provider? It's not that hard. And the cycle is going to keep representing itself until you fix it. Like my grandfather used to tell me, the problems that you don't fix will keep representing itself in your life at different times until you act differently towards it. There's no way you could be able to move forward trying to do things their way. They don't even have a track record of it working for them. And if they did, then where is it? That's why respect is a byproduct of principle. True respect. It's not about being silenced towards people's nonsense and protecting them through your silence. And somehow that is supposed to act as principle within an environment that they're trying to destroy and not trying to see progress. That's just where we're at right now. And one of the most damaging things here is that we're trying to turn problems of the past, we reversed it. We were supposed to leave academic lessons in the past as academic. We want to turn mistakes into the past into a lived experience rather than leave it academic. You're not supposed to know how disaster works. You're not supposed to know what happened once you hit the self-destruct button. You're not supposed to know that. But we want to work through the lived experience of failure until we get to success. That's not how that works. At some point, you're going to have to grow up and stop trying to be around the fun boys and the fun girls and have your name around them all the time. You're going to have to grow up through that. Because the moment you get to the other side, these are going to be the people who's trying to drag you back down. And if you cannot live and exist without these people's opinion today, how are you going to be able to do it whenever you get money in your pocket? They get to you by not treating you like a human being. And depending on your low self-esteem and your high ability to need to be accepted by them, so that way they can continue to have power over you. This is how this works. This is how low self-esteem comes back to bite you. Because you want the right type of acceptance from the wrong type of people. These people have spent their entire lives nurturing their disrespect for you like a well-tended crop. So that way when you come around and you got something that they want, they all line up like hyenas and they take your ass down. And then they, again, depend on you not punishing them in order for them to keep their gains over you. So when I keep telling you that you have the ability to end this type of culture, I am not lying about that. I don't think it comes from either. I think it's a choice. But when you are surrounded by these types of choices and these things become normal to you as a person, that's when it sets in. It's still a choice. At the end of the day, it's still a choice. A choice that they make and a choice that they live every single day. This is why when you come around them, you listen to what they have to say, and then you roll out. I can't possibly make it look like it's the government or some ominous man's fault at this point. These people want to do things this way. Even though they haven't seen anybody succeed at it, they want to do things this way. I'm just saying, sit back and let them, man. Their numbers can't grow without stagnation. Their numbers can't grow because they were never builders. They were building something, but they were never builders outright. My grandfather made no bones about, if you left this house on that nonsense, we're not going to go chase you down and bring you back into good standing. That's your job. He was very adamant about letting people's principle and track record speak for itself. He was always a big proponent of, it's better to see one link in the chain destroyed rather than the whole chain fail itself. Because everything is going to have a churn rate. Everything is going to have a level of success and failure associated with it. Because failure and stagnation is supposed to be something that is highly embarrassing in an environment. It is not supposed to be celebrated by people within an environment. And if you know, a lot of these men don't want to move forward, as well as most of the women, what are you still doing here trying to hold out hope that they're ever going to get it right? These people have chosen today's comfort over tomorrow's progress. That's what happened. It's the same thing because it's the same choice to not move forward. The same choice to not take school seriously. The same choice whenever you get out of school to not pick up a book and try to take it seriously. The same choice to not take advantage of actual opportunities within the environment. It's the same choice. The same choice. Waiting for everybody to line up before you make a move in the right direction, that's the same choice. The same choice of thinking that your life is going to be better once you get the respect of this uncultured woman, then you're going to move forward. That's a choice. The way you spend your money, how you spend your spare time, what you invest in yourself in order to move forward, that is also a choice. If you plant peanuts, you're going to get peanuts. Problem is these people are planting peanuts and expecting fully fledged watermelons after they plant peanuts. They want to put a peanuts amount of time in, but they want a watermelon's worth of benefit out of it. That's what we are. This is how simple this stuff is. It's really not even that difficult. You have to let them fail. You have to let them fail. As many mouths that are talking about the community today, There was not these many mouths around back in the past stopping this stuff from turning into what it is today. Why is it that everybody want to care about the community well after the thing is beyond saving? What's the point of that? They want to sell people the hope through stagnation line. Don't worry about it. Somebody will pick you up the way that you are. It doesn't matter what you put into it. It doesn't matter that you never respected these men within the environment. They still gonna come around and be a part of your life. This is the stuff that's being sold. And you know what? It's the same people who didn't want to move forward. They always wanted to find an excuse not to make any action. They always wanted to find an excuse not to deal with reality. They always wanted to find the excuse to not team up with people who they should be teaming up with. And they also want to find the excuse so that way they can feel good about the situation rather than respond appropriately to the actual situation, what they were supposed to be doing in the first place. These people wanted to run in and take credit at the end of the process without understanding or respecting the actual process itself. And it's the same problem. And it has not changed. How are we supposed to move forward? If most people don't want to even understand or even learn about the process to which they want to benefit from, but they expect everybody else to fight for them. At what point do we not just get tired of these listening to these people speak and these arguments? Like I said, you got grown adults with credentials wanting us to be represented by people without credentials in the actual field to which they're negotiating. You got people who still want that. You got one person burning his credibility to the point that every single person who's associated with him cannot even speak to correct his mistakes. Because even by acknowledging his presence or even trying to correct his mistakes right now, it brings a lot of discomfort to even them. You're seeing the same thing because it's all based on the same choice. It's still based on the same choice. It's still based on misdirection. Rather than talk about Joe Biden and the crime bill, no one wants to talk about dropping them drugs in the community in the first place. Not only that, that was a choice to pick up those substances and sell it to their own people. That was a choice. Those same substances was there for other people to sell, but they didn't sell them to their own people. But we sold them to ours. And these fanboys and girls have the nerve to want to push something like prison reform as the top of the list. What about black men who don't need prison reform? What about black men who was raised in two-parent households? What about black men of the diaspora who need other black men to work with them? But you keep falling for this ADOS bullshit. You keep falling for people who want to separate you from people who can actually help you make progress. You want to be represented by comedians and clowns. And the horrific thing about all this is that we will respect an entertainer more who will go off into trying to get things done on the behalf of people that he tried to destroy, rather than the people who spent their whole entire lives trying to help people, who are actually on the ground, who are actually there locally in his community that he never tried to meet. But he tried to just take off and go to the top and act like that was the way things work. This is where we are. It's the same level of cowardice. It's the same reason why we cannot move forward. It's the same reason. And when I bring up the lack of success within the environment, somehow I got a problem. I need to change what I do. I need to be softer about the way I approach things. Why would I do that when we're actually dealing with the same problem? You have to assume none of this stuff is going to change until you do. That's how that works. There's really nothing you can do about the entire system, but you wouldn't even know that it actually existed until you went out there and did it actually for yourself. Because you're not supposed to know about everybody's stagnation. If you kept moving forward, you wouldn't even see these people. If you kept moving forward, you wouldn't even be worried about these people. When they was out there having their fun and you was in them books, that showed you where your new family was. That showed you where the new group of people that you was dealing with was. There's nothing wrong with the path of principle. There's a lot wrong with the path of silence. It takes no skill to be silent. It takes no skill. None whatsoever. It takes no skill to be silent. But that's just where we are, man. Everybody trying to be the newest, greatest version of a failed person for Black America. Everybody's caught up in that. I'm telling you, it's not going to be that many people who want to move forward. It's not going to be that many people. But their job is so easy. Their job is real easy. Not making any progress, hoping for the stagnation of others. Their job is pretty easy. The only thing they need is for you not to make any progress in order to help them. Because if you paid attention to the track record, which cannot be verified, by the way, none of this stuff seems likely. But they sold people on this Xbox rare achievement lifestyle, where you're going to be doing all these random ass things and then poof, your life is just going to explode. That ain't the way that works. You have to learn about and participate in the actual processes that you want to benefit from. You can't not participate in them and then expect for them to work for you on your behalf. That's not how that works. Anybody can be a coward, man. And the same effort that you put in to be a coward, you can also be principled. You're going to have less people around you that you got to watch. But at the end of the day, it's what you built with your own associations. Not the hopes that cowards won't serve your ass up to be eaten next. That's what actually the problem is at this point. It's going to be a lot of times you're going to feel like you're behind enemy lines. That means you're doing the right thing. That's just where we're at, man. There's nothing much more you can do at this point except for see it play out over and over again. It's always the people who you speak for. Yep. They're going to march you into that trap. They need to. They need you in that trap so that way they can survive. You think these people want to see progress? No. Why do you think they rushed in to take over what some of what Manosphere 1.0 did? Because they wanted to turn this stuff back. They didn't want to see them gains being made in the environment. They were failed men. They were failed men. Failed men don't want to see men prosper. Just like an older woman don't want to see a younger woman, unless it's her kid, get access to a dude that she can't get. It's the same whole ass thinking. It's the same. It's not hard. It's very easy. But Omega, man, they need the youth to survive. They can't survive without the youth. They know they can't survive without the youth. They know that. Man, I don't even worry about it that much, man. But I'm just letting you know, and I'm only doing these live streams so that way you can be able to see the process for itself. So that way you don't have to ask these type of questions about what's moving and what's going where. My grandfather and my father and my mother didn't live this long enough to see the process repeat itself, but they did tell me that it was going to come. The only thing I'm doing is sounding the alarm. You need to keep moving. You're not going to find more alive people beneath the flood. You're going to find them up the mountain that you need to be going up. If somebody requires your shut mouth, so that way they can practice the level of non-principle within the environment so they can survive, then that's not something that should be surviving within the environment. It's very clear that's the case. Yeah, Janto's question, that's true. They don't want to see progress. Because if they wanted to see progress, they would have a background that shows it. I don't mind telling you where I came from. I don't mind telling you. And all this stuff fed from one thing into another. I had no intentions on staying back there. I had no intentions on riding on that work truck in the summer going to chop cotton in the Mississippi heat. Hell no, I didn't want that for my life. And the moment I had a chance to get the hell up out of there, I left. And I wasn't trying to screw over anybody once I did leave. I want it to be because I work for the stuff. I made the correct and proper connections about the stuff. That's what I wanted it to be about. Everybody else listened to the same music that we listen to. You know what's playing in Montana, North and South Dakota? You know what's playing there? Hip hop's playing there. Yeah. Trucks on rims, jacked up, all that kind of stuff. Driving through Utah and Wyoming and Idaho and rural Oregon. Hip hop's everywhere. They're not trying to turn their neighborhoods into the music that they're listening to. They can listen to that stuff and let it go and go be a straight A student. They don't have older 50-year-old people coming to try to destroy their environment. They just don't have that. Respect isn't hard. Principle isn't hard. It's the people who you're trying to have it in front of. That's what's become hard. Because somehow you've been taught to keep these people relevant within life rather than move past them. What did you require out of the people who currently need help? What did you require out of them? What were they doing with their only chance? What were they doing? Who were they trying to make sure spoke for the group? All this stuff had very simple answers to it. Very simple answers. But we are where we are. This is like when Neo was talking to the architect of the Matrix. That's where we're at right now. You got two doors. You can go out of one door and go right back to the Black Manosphere, apparently. And the other door you can actually go through and make some progress. Nobody's going to be there to actually congratulate you on what you do because only you're going to know all the process that you made. You're going to know the stuff that you've been a part of. So that way you're not result to making it look like you have all the money that you clearly don't in a space that clearly don't care about that kind of stuff. It's about the progress that you make, man. I can't stress it enough. I gotta get out of here in a little bit. So drop the link in the chat. Don't nobody come up. I'm gonna get up out of here, man. But yeah, respect is a byproduct of principle. And cowardice is a byproduct of silence. One, they take the same amount of work, except for one has a good outcome and one doesn't. But that's where we are, folks. Don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate it. It's going to be the same. It's going to keep repeating itself. This is why the old guys are here. This is why the older women are here. This is why all the failed men in the space are here. This is why the problems of yesteryear is here. They're all here to make certain that nobody moves forward. And even if you did move forward, they want to respect the things that they should not be wanting respect for when they do move forward. That's just the way that is, man. And if you don't recognize it now, you'll never recognize it. It doesn't even matter at this point. You can still make progress. You can still change. You can still learn about the process. You can stop pushing these conspiracy theories. You can stop showing up at these places where nothing moves forward. You can do this. All this stuff is a choice. It is a conscious choice. Nobody made this choice but us. And to tell you the truth, we should be the ones fighting the hardest. We should be the ones showing up the most. Why? We got the most to lose. And that's consistently been the case. But that is just where we are, man. And it's always been this way. Since Reconstruction. There's always a group of people who want to progress without work, and the people who knew that there was going to be progress as long as they did work. That's the two groups of people that are left in Black America right now. There are going to be people who want these women to somehow respect them with their track record. And then it's going to be men out there who are going to just move on to other people who have better track records. It's not hard. It's very binary at this point. So I want to thank y'all for coming through. For the man tomorrow. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And you guys have a really